Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Yes, it's been a while and I was waiting for version 1.1, which has now dropped, so here is the patch video. Let's have a look. What did they change? What have they added? What have they taken away? Because they have done some of that. Now, let's start with a new feature, Shared Designs. According to the patch log, they wanted to make this feature for a while, but during development it was likely to break, so they didn't want to constantly have to fix it, and that's why they postponed it until now. So what is Shared Designs? It's not what you expect. That is a bit of a sorry situation. So, what I was expecting from Shared Design. You build a ship, you hit either Export or Save Design, and it creates a file. It does that. Excellent. I'll show you where you can find that file in a minute. Now, what I also expected was I can build two ships, let's say one Japanese, one Spanish, and I can have them battle it out between each other. This would lead the way to being able to do a tournament, much something I would really like to do. I want to have you guys send in ships, I want to have these ships battle it out, and eventually have a winner to the tournament. So what I'm expecting is I build a ship, and that ship then fights it out against another ship. Just have both ships on AI control. So let's say I want to have a, a Spanish 1930s modern battleship. I'm going to give this thing the absolute minimum requirements, just to make sure that the game will accept it. So let's put a funnel on there, let's put a couple of main guns, don't look at the aesthetics, it's not important here. Engine efficiency is awful, that is fine. I'm going to call this Shared Design. Right, Shared Design. I'm going to also do that for the Chinese. So this is China Shared Design. They are also going to get a Shared Design, CH Shared Design. So, same situation here really. Tower, funnel, guns. 13-inch guns on a battleship this big, why not? As long as the game accepts my design, that's fine. So, save the design. We have the one for... Oh, I didn't save the one for the Spanish, I'm sorry. Modern battleship. Let's go with a tower. Tower. Oh, come on now. Tower. Funnel. Guns. Yep, you're getting 12-inch guns. They're gonna look absolutely adorable. Okay, so this is the SP, or I suppose ESP Shared Design. Right, save the design. Okay, so now we got the one for the Spanish, and it says shared. And we got the one for the Chinese, shared. Now, what I was expecting would happen is that you go into custom battle, and I can have these guys battle it out. It is very important that you have the exact nation of your choice, and more importantly, if you want to use these things in the campaign, you're going to have these guys with the exact tech in the exact same year, otherwise the ship simply will not show up. Also, it will not show up on your campaign, on your side. It'll show up on the enemy side. Because watch this, Shared Designs, this is a new button. You have a couple of different buttons. You can go selective. If they don't manage to make their own design, the AI uses your designs as a fallback. You can just say always. They always will use your shared design in priority when designing a ship. Now it says priority, so it's not like we're going to always pick your ship, but it gets a priority in the queue. Or off, and you just don't use it. So I want to hit always. I want to make sure that the AI always uses my ship. Right. Let's set the range to 20,000 and design a ship. Except I shouldn't have to design a ship. Oh, sorry, it's 1930s. That's the deal. There she is. The ESP Shared Design. That's my boat. Now, for the AI, I don't even have to design my ship because that's already been set. So now I can launch. This is where we run into trouble. Bottom right hand side, building battleship. You only see this when the game is actually building AI, well, when the AI is designing a ship. I don't want you to design a ship, I want you to use my ship. My really awful ship. Instead, it made the Enfant. Or, seeing as it's Spanish, the Infante. this is nothing like my ship. Absolutely nothing like my ship. In case of the Chinese, it did work. They actually got the shared design. So this feature, I cannot say it is broken, because it works. The AI does use the ship. It just doesn't work as I had hoped, because it only allows the AI to use that ship. But when I explicitly select my own design for the shared ship, and I cannot even use new design, it doesn't let me. When I explicitly tell the ship, or the game, use my shared design, use my design for my ship, it goes, yeah, no, I can't do that. I'm going to build a new battleship. So I don't know why this is. I don't know if this is like an early feature or an early version of shared design, but I really don't like the way it's implemented right now, because this is not what I would expect. I want to be able to have you guys send in ships and duke it out, and that might be something that only I am interested in. I don't know. Let me know down below in the comments. Is that something I'm interested in, or would you like to see that as well? So that's shared designs. Does it work? Yeah. On to the next feature. Improved fire control. Let's try to bypass the fact that the DD spawned at the exact same location as the battleship, but beyond that. Now, improved fire control allows you to have your battleship target 2 different targets at the same time. 2 different sides of the ship can engage 2 different targets. On paper, it's a really good feature. In practice, I suspect it's making the game lag. More on that in a little bit. If you have a ship that has an armament on both sides, and I'm not talking about main guns that can fire to both sides, but if you look at this battleship here, they have a secondary armament as well as casemates on both sides. Same as my ship, the Terrible. Now, my ship has a row on top and a row on the bottom, and that is the 2 different sides. So I have 6 inchers and 4 inchers on port and starboard side. These each have their own ammunition storage, and these each have their own hit points. So you can have your port side entirely murdered, and the starboard side should still be fine. This way, if you are ever caught with enemies on both sides, let's hope not, you can engage both sides at the same time, albeit only with a secondary gun. So if you're getting sandwiched a la Pirates of the Caribbean, you can fire out to both sides. Just good luck surviving the incoming fire. Now, on this segment I did catch something weird. The Terrible was in range. She had her guns trained at the target. I set the ship to fire at will, fire manually, fire normally, fire automatically. She was definitely in range, she just didn't fire. I don't understand why. I even switched the guns to aggressive. I thought, okay, maybe their firing solution is that bad. And my estimate of the situation is that only when the enemy ship actually got into firing range of the enemy ship did the Terrible fire. And I cannot explain this, because the ship should be able to shoot the target. Here, watch. Something spotted the Terrible, something spotted my battleship, and now my ship suddenly opens up. It makes no sense. And I suddenly have a 5, 6, 7% accuracy. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. Anyway, the improved fire control, does it work? Pretty much, yeah. You can fire out to both sides, and with that, your ship becomes much more defensible or defensible / defensive if you are ever faced with ships on both sides. So that is a nice new feature to have. I'm going to keep this clip running in the background as I talk over some of the other points. The task forces in campaigns used to be a bit of a problem. You could have massive, massive fleets, hundreds and hundreds of ships. In the worst situation, I think I had, one of the campaigns I did on a video was, what, like 30 of mine versus 120 of theirs, something like that? I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was pretty insane. They've now set a limit on that. Task forces can now have a specified number of ships depending on the commanding level that is researched in the campaign. So you have a researchable task force limit, if you will. The commanding level increases the maximum crew that can be commanded in a task force and is researchable in naval communications. So don't skip research that doesn't immediately benefit your guns or your ship or, I don't know, your ship construction. naval communications might not sound that interesting, but it is definitely something that you will want. Because what this feature does is limit the amount of crew that you can control in any given battle. It's an odd way to do it. I have seen people make the argument going, okay, so let's say my limit is 4,000. I can command 4,000 sailors in a task force. Let's say that. If I have 4 battleships, each with 1,000 crew, that is, I'd say, as a task force commander, perfectly manageable. But give me 80 torpedo boats with 50 guys each, and I also have 4,000 crew, but that is management hell. I would say a formation system or a task force system that is based around the number of ships would be more beneficial, but they decided to go with the number of with the number of crew aboard a ship. It's an odd way to go about it, but this is a way that you can limit the task forces. Now, in case you're not exactly familiar with where to find naval communications in the first place, it's part of naval tactics. Naval communications. I currently have a max cap, and this is a 1931 campaign of 18,000 maximum crew command in a task force. But it also limits you in different ways. You can have a maximum of 4 submarines. So either those are really, really, really crude submarines, like 4,000 people each, or they just set a hard cap by the number of submarines. Anyway, this is where you can find it. This is what you want to research if you want to boost your capability of commanding a larger battle group. Next up, new provinces and different initial settings. I am not exactly at a new campaign. This is 1931, but it is close enough. Now, there are a lot of new provinces, and they all tend to interact with each other. Galicia, over here, for example, has its own income, its own population, it has its own controller, its own army. All of these things now matter. And in the patch log, it says Austria-Hungary remains as a major nation after 1920, supposing that it was not dissolved fully, but it is functioning. But it functioned as a buffer state against Italy, which was very dissatisfied with her World War I gains. So normally you would have Austria-Hungary fall apart in 1920. That does not happen in this game, because then you'd have all these small states and probably Italy as, in this game, a fairly major power, which is gobble up everything, which is not necessarily ideal. Now, this also ties in quite nicely with another point about all of these different regions and all of their different aspects. If you have a war between 2 nations, they will invade each other. You now have armies. Can you influence these armies? A bit. Not as much as you might like. What I have over here is a yearly army budget. Sorry, I'm France. It doesn't really matter though. You have a yearly army budget and you have a yearly naval budget. Army budget doesn't seem to have a dollar sign, but whatever. It's 4 billion. Naval budget is 10 billion. So I get quite a lot of money for my navy. The army just has to make do. This is going to impact how much of an invasion capability you have. What I cannot do on the map is move my armies around. So in my case, if I have my 209,000 guys in northern France, I cannot move them to southern France, or move the guys from western France, which has a larger army force. I cannot move them to northern France. So yes, you can influence them perhaps somewhat, the number I mean, by foregoing those pop-ups that say, hey, do you want to spend more money on the Navy, or do you want it to go to the GDP, or maybe to the Army? Maybe they have new pop-ups there, I don't know. Something else you might see there is oil, but I'm going to get to that at a later point. Anyway, nations, if they border each other and they're at war, can invade each other. And that's exactly what Russia is doing with the Russian Far East. Russia, in this campaign, much like in world politics, quickly picked fights with absolutely everybody, and they now find themselves at war with France, that's my nation, the UK, as well as China. So they decide that it's a great idea to send in the troops from Russia Far East, and they have 986,000 guys over there. They're going to send those into Manchuria, which has an army of little north of 500,000. How this is gonna go, I don't know. I have also seen smaller conflicts between these provinces, such as over here. The area of Montenegro came under attack by Serbia and got taken over by Serbia, so Serbia is now the new controller. It is, however, not part of Austria-Hungary. So whether or not you're eventually able to declare war as Austria-Hungary versus Serbia, I don't know, perhaps would be nice, I suppose, so you can just collect a few more of your regions here and keep expanding. Whether this is going to turn into a full-scale land strategy game, I hope not. I'd rather have them focus their efforts on fixing some bugs. The next thing that got added is a government mechanics system. Each nation has a different government depending on historical facts. The base governments are absolute monarchy, constitutional monarchy, and democracy. I believe that we have some other versions of control in the world, but they're not exactly listed right here. The constitutional monarchy and democracy have a parliament, elections, and 5 different parties: nationalist, right-wing, center, left-wing, and communists. According to the government that rules the nation, different modifiers apply affecting the GDP growth. So what you are is going to impact where your money goes. And this, I'm not sure if you'll have an impact on this. If I'm looking at the Empire of Japan, their GDP growth is not really doing that well, that modifier. If you look at the democracy that is the United States, then yes, their GDP growth is really quite good. But somehow they're not really spending their money that well, because they got a 124 billion economy, which is basically rivaling France. Although it is 1930s, the US hadn't quite woken up at that point, I guess. Now, constitutional monarchies have a little something that is a change with elections, and that could very much change the way that your modifiers turn out. If your left-wing party votes different from your right-wing party, then perhaps your naval budget is suddenly going to go up or suddenly going to go down, depending on who is currently in control. And the same, of course, can be said for the democracies. Both types of monarchy are abolished when there is a revolution and democracy becomes established. Autocracy? I don't know whether that's a thing. I don't believe so. I guess everybody's just a peaceful democracy. Then again, on paper, many nations are a democracy which arguably are not. Something else you might have already seen in this screen is the buttons that you now have on the right. You can improve relations or increase tensions, depending on how you want to sway this. It is not a guaranteed plus 15 or plus 10 modifier to real relations. Sometimes it doesn't go your way. Because if I am playing as France, as I am right now, and I can say I want to increase tension with the US, the game asks, do you want to push the government to increase tension? I can say, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. The game goes then to the next turn, and it either worked or it did not. If it didn't work, you have the possibility of losing naval prestige. Because you're this hawkish admiral who made a stark suggestion to the government, and the government went, well, you're just a military guy, and we're not going to do that. And at that point, your naval prestige can drop. So if you just keep pushing the government to go to war with another party, it might not work out that well if they just keep turning you down. Of course, you can still send your ships, and if you are, I don't know, if you're France and you want to piss off the Germans, you can just park your navy off of Heligoland, and, well, sooner rather than later, they will likely take offense, and your relationship with Germany is going to dwindle. It also means that with this new system, you can have all sorts of crazy alliances. I have been pushing the US, and you can see what the result has been. Minus 77. This also had to do with the US going to war with Colombia. Yeah, that's a thing now. The US went to war with Colombia, and this is one of those situations that you can't quite play out, because these are minor nations. I mean, not the US, but might have gone to war with Colombia, but it doesn't actually do anything. Except for the fact that the US was trying to invade Colombia. And that didn't exactly work out. Anyway, this does bring me quite nicely to the option of a naval invasion. It's also part of the of the politics screen. Beyond, of course, cancelling alliances and stuff, you need to be at war. Naval invasion appears when you place a fleet of more than 100,000 tons in a sea region of an enemy major nation. So, if in this case, and I'm trying to do it, I am trying to invade Russia with this battle group. That's 2 battleships worth over 60,000 tons each, so I'm well across that 100,000 ton minimum. I'm trying to park them off of Kronstadt and try and do an invasion. The war is still ongoing. If I can get these guys here, I should be able to launch a naval invasion. Whether that is going to work is a roll of the die. I don't exactly know how much influence you as a player have on this whole situation. Nope. Right. No. Don't care. Yeah. No. Oh, this is something else. Let me just add that. Your minor nations will try and interact with you. And in this case, Sweden has reached out and said, hey, do you want to be my friend? I said, yes. Sweden then says, hey, I hear you have some nice ship designs and nice shipyards. Could you build us some ships because we cannot do it ourselves? And as long as they're your friend, they will send these offers every once in a while. And with that, you can make a nice bit of extra money. So they'll pay plus 25% in advance. And the rest of the amount will be paid upon delivery after 15 months. Providing a total profit of 33%. It's really neat. What's the catch? Well, in this situation, it is not something I really want to do because I have a maximum shipbuilding capability. And I'm already over it. So by saying yes to too many of your friendly nations, you could have a problem with your shipbuilding capacity. And you could go over your capacity, which causes all sorts of delays, makes ships late, potentially not getting a ship when you really need it done. So the game says if this happens, it is advised to at least suspend the construction of some ships to speed up the building of the rest of the warships. Now, I cannot do that for other ships. I cannot suspend the building of the battlecruiser Alma, which is one of those ships that is on order by Brazil, I think. Oh, Mexico. I sold it to Mexico. I can cancel the sale. It'll deteriorate relations with the customer nation, but I will take full control of the ship. So in this case, if you go, nope, sorry, I want that ship back, I need it right now, you can just cancel the sale, and in 9 months you're going to have a shiny new battlecruiser. But it will piss them off. Anyway, if you have the problem that I have with I am over shipbuilding capacity, it's about 70,000 tons, I can just suspend the building of one of my own ships. Note own ships, not other ships. I can suspend the build of this ship. Am I building something else? I wasn't building a whole lot, really. I was mostly doing construction for others. Oh, here. I'm still building a battlecruiser. There, suspend. And now I am under my shipbuilding budget, so it should be fine. Keep this in mind as you're building new ships, because it might not go that quickly. Something else that I'm now noticing that's not going that quickly is crew pool. So I am doing maximum crew training, which generally increases the size of your crew pool quickly on paper. It doesn't do that anymore. I'm just getting 71 people a month. That's all. And this means that if you start to lose a lot of crew and you don't have a crew pool, it's going to hit you very, very hard. You might not be able to field full ships anymore. Now, back to the naval invasion, because I can now do the naval invasion on the Soviet Union, because I have my battle group right next to Kronstadt. I do have to deal with a couple of submarines and maybe some other trash, but it shouldn't deal that much damage to my group. So I can now launch a naval invasion. What do I want to invade? Central Russia. Why not? We have a strong naval presence, over 100,000 tons of warships in the vicinity. Should we commence an attack in the next month? Yes, please. I don't have anything else to do with those ships anyway, so we might as well. So we're going to go to the next month. And November 1931, mark the date, is when France invaded Russia, notably Central Russia. And it does generate a mission. No, not that one. Fine. Okay, fine. Get me over to my... No, stop ordering ships. France mobilizes to launch a naval invasion against Soviet Union in Central Russia. While France's fleet is inside the attack zone, troops are carried and land battles occur near the shore. Norway's pissed off with Germany. I have lost 19,000 soldiers. And the Soviet Union has lost 7,265. How many exactly I have? I'm not too sure. How many soldiers? I don't exactly know. I just know that it says, hey, you need more tonnage in order to win? I don't know. I can't click on this. It doesn't tell me that I need to do anything specifically beyond just bringing in more ships. So in this case, I'm not sure if I have the, well, if I have the numbers to push. I can send every ship that I have, and perhaps that will work. But I only have 3 battleships, and 2 of them are in Asia. So in this situation, I'm not sure what happens. Oh, even the Gloire is being repaired. I'm not sure what happens, so let's find out. Now, this naval invasion, it seems that the Germans aren't exactly too interested in... Sorry, the Russians aren't exactly too interested in having me here, because they responded with a massive fleet. So this is what a naval invasion can prompt. You can get a bunch of pushback from the the nation that you're actually invading. Now, I do believe that these ships, or that these large formations are limited by the number of ships and, well, mostly crew that you can command, as discussed previous. So these are not going to be these endless lists of ships. Unless you have, I don't know, a destroyer with 100 guys on it, you might be able to get a whole lot of destroyers. Good luck managing that. So in this case, I think that this naval invasion is not going to end up doing very well, unless I'm able to sink all of these ships. But even then, I still don't match the minimum requirements of the naval invasion. So I'm sending in troops every now and then, but it doesn't seem to work that well. Let's see what happens when I auto-resolve it. We're fairly even, but this probably does impact my ability to get a bunch of ships in that position. Wow. Colombia cancelled the alliance with China. Oh, beautiful. What? Libya is... Okay. So, what's the situation now? I do have almost the required tonnage. Oh, I need about 30k more. There should be one ship ready that I can send, which is the Gloire. Over here. Let's send this in. I want to see what happens. I haven't seen a naval invasion either succeed or fail yet. So I want to see what happens. Push that ship in. And that should... What? Whatever. Soviet Union and Spanish are at war. Oh, wow. And the Empire of Japan. And, oh. I've now pissed off the United States enough. They've decided to declare war. Wouldn't you like it? Yeah. Want to resolve the shit out of this? Huh? You did medium damage to a battleship? I'll take it. Oh, there's more. Withdraw. Okay, so now are we at... Really? The Ottoman Empire and the British. Okay, no. 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 Wow. Where'd all my ships go? Oh. Everybody's repairing. So this is what happens when you don't win a battle and your ships are forced to repair. Apparently they don't ask you to go home, they just go home. And with that, I am not likely to win this one. I might slowly be able to whittle away at the army of Central Russia, but it probably won't go very quickly. So if you want to do a naval invasion, you better be ready for a long drawn-out fight, both ashore and on the waters. Something else that can pop up is that one of the minor nations and major nations agree to an alliance, both alliance and trade agreement. Again, these seem to be very, very random. You cannot seem to influence them. It, in this case, gives Germany some pretty hefty bonuses, because Australia just signed a special alliance and trade agreement which give Germany access to selling ships to Australia, so that's a nice moneymaker. They can also utilize ships of Australia during the war, and they can use Australia's ports, as well as enhanced economy and shared oil resources. So if you have a nation that has a bunch of resources, and it suddenly switches over to your side, or to the enemy's side, it could massively sway the course of the war. Keep this in mind. How you should influence that, I have absolutely no idea. Because I don't know how to talk to a minor nation. I can talk to a major nation. I don't know how to talk to a minor nation, just see that they're minor allies. But beyond that, I cannot influence it. Another new feature is rebellions. When you have a lot of unrest in a nation, especially a major nation, a province may revolt, and they note that particularly colonies are susceptible to doing that. So in my France situation, that could mean that, I don't know, Saigon is going wild and is going to try and split off if the unrest is too high. Now, unrest is not exactly directly linked to your naval prestige, but generally when you're doing well in a war, your unrest won't be that high. If you're losing a war, you might also find that the population doesn't quite like that and will start to get a bit restless. When this happens, one of these rebellions, there is a special mission. I haven't had these pop up yet, so I can't show you, where your fleet is able to support the defense of one of these colonies. Or, I think that's a bit of a euphemism. You're just sending in a warship to try and calm the population down by pointing some severely big guns at them. So having a ship in/near your colonies is definitely an interesting thing to have. Because if you don't, then these colonies of yours might start thinking, why are we working for the French again? And just decide to go off and do their own thing. Whereas if I decide to pay them a little visit with the battleship, then perhaps they will reconsider their position and stay as a colony. Keep an eye on rebellions. Another new feature is the addition of oil. Yes, oil. Russia, for example, has it. They are producing 59.698 barrels, so that's almost 60,000 barrels, over here in the region of Central Russia. Now, why is this significant? It says oil resources boost the economy of a nation that has them in various ways, and also affect the fuel dependency of the fleets. If a nation has not a direct access to oil resources, then ships with oil fuel are significantly more expensive to maintain, and the fuel takes longer to replenish. On the contrary, nations with oil resources that are at a high level, depending on the population needs, will notice a significant boost in fuel replenishment rate, and the ability of their fleets to operate in distant waters becomes increased. Okay. My issue with this particular feature is it doesn't tell me that much. It tells me, for example, for the Soviet Union, they have an oil production per capita of 29,000. I'm not sure if that's a lot or a little. I'm not sure what your numbers here should be. I mean, I see Britain as having 8,700, so 29k for the Soviet Union looks really good. The Empire of Japan has a bit of an issue because they don't have any. The United States is producing 23k, China 9.6, Italy 13k. The Germans have 54,000. That's, I don't know, it's a lot, I guess. It's the most of the list so far. And I'm on 5697. Again, whether it's a lot or a little, or what sort of modifier or debuff or what have you it gives me, I don't know. Because only this tooltip provides a bit of information, but it doesn't say what exactly it does. Like, if you get X amount of oil barrels, you get Y amount of GDP growth. If you get X amount of barrels, you're going to have your ships resupply 20% faster, 30%, or 40%. I don't know. Give me some more information. Because right now I'm just guessing. Now, this oil situation is not static. Sometimes you can discover new oil in a province. It seems to happen rather randomly. So it's going to be unpredictable where you're going to be able to find it. Whether or not you'll be able to then talk to that nation. I mean, currently you can't. Maybe in a future version you will. I don't know if... what would we like to talk to? Here. If the province of Uruguay is suddenly in possession of oil, then of course first the Americans are going to pay them a visit, but afterwards you might be able to click on them and see if you can talk to them and trade the oil or come up with one of those trade/alliance negotiations. Right now, I don't think this feature is fleshed out enough to really add much, because I as a player don't know what to do with it. I don't know if I need to go after provinces that have it, if I have enough, if I need more. This is a feature that, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be more fleshed out or better explained. Finally, when it comes to new features, there are channels and canals. These allow the controlling nations to very quickly travel around to locations that you might want to get to in a hurry. Notably, the Suez Canal, currently controlled by the British. It is not accessible to the Soviet Union because the Soviet Union and the British are at war. So if the Soviet Union wants to send their ships through, I don't know, the Mediterranean towards the Arabian Sea, they're going to have to take the long way around. And this makes these straits particularly valuable. Because having control of, I think it's going to be this province, is going to impact whether or not you'll be able to control the strait. The canal in this case. So having control over northern Egypt might very well give you access over the Suez Canal. Considering its strategic position, they might want to go for that. Also, northern Egypt gives you a whole bunch of oil, but that's going to be down to the Americans anyway. Speaking of the Americans, we have over... where is it? Somewhere here-ish? Yeah, my geography is fantastic. The Panama Canal is a thing. Where is it? Here? No. Where did the game put the Panama Canal? Because Panama is... here, finally. The Panama Canal. It was a bit difficult to find the tooltip. It is controlled by the US because they control Panama. If this changes sides... for example, France would capture this, and considering the fact that there might not be a whole lot of army there, it might actually be a pretty good idea, then you can cut off the United States East and West Coast fleet, at least for quick access. Yes, they might still be able to go around, but you'll at least be delaying the United States Western fleet a lot in order to get to your position. So a situation like capturing Panama and thus controlling the Panama Canal might be very, very, very valuable if you are so inclined to really, really piss off the nation that you are currently fighting and you want to control their movement, their ability to shift their ships around. Now, I believe that in real life, the Panama Canal has a limit to the amount of, or the size of the ship that it can allow through. I'm not sure if something like that is modeled in the game. I suspect it's not, but I don't have any evidence to back that up. Now, outside of the features that I've so far mentioned, there are a bunch of new hulls. I can't say I'm particularly excited about having a whole bunch of new hulls. It doesn't add that much for me. I would rather they focus on getting some bugs out of the way rather than add a bunch of new hulls. There's also new guns. There is a new Naval Academy mission. I'm not sure if anybody still plays those, but okay. As for fixes and balances and minor additions, they have fixed several issues which could turn lags or crashes into which could cause turn lag or crashes in the campaign. Okay, cool. Fixed problems that could cause too much depletion of ammo or fuel in battles involving submarines. I have had this happen in my last campaign, where a couple of my ships just ran out of ammo after fighting a submarine, which was an auto-resolve battle that you could do nothing about. So I'm really glad that they fixed that. Fixed supply of ships being too scarce in large voyages away from ports. Fixed minefield damage being too much on some occasions. Some occasions. That's a euphemistic way of putting we really messed up your fleet by sending it into a minefield. Anyway, glad they got rid of that. Reworked tension mechanics to work more subtly. Okay. Fixed many long-standing issues of the ship formations. Ah, yes. I haven't had proper testing or enough testing in order to really form an opinion on this. So, while I am skeptical about that, I should say, if they claim that they fixed it, maybe they have. Let's see. There is an overall improvement on battle AI and campaign AI. Fixed some ship targeting issues, mainly with the new fire control improvements. There is one thing that I've found a bit weird when it comes to the new interface. I'm not sure what causes the lag, but look at this. So, lag. This is what I have experienced, and I believe it's new. Right now, the game is running smoothly. I haven't selected my ship. I'm not looking at the enemy ship beyond just visually. I'm not looking at their stat icons, if you will. If I go to 5 times speed, the game remains stable. It remains fluent. But, if I select my ship, even just going over the ship causes a sort of micro lag. Like, it takes a second. If I go over the other... Look at the shells. The one moment they're fluent, and now they're sort of jittery. The whole game starts getting a bit jittery. This doesn't happen when I don't have my own ship selected. When I just hover over the enemy ship that I cannot see the stat card of yet because I haven't identified it, it's not a problem. I suspect it is down to the new feature, the fire control thing. Because the moment that you start to get information about these guns, it starts showing. The lag happens. And only when you actually select the other ship, because right now it seems fine. But when I hover over the ship, you see that? Lag. Shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be there. What I've also had happen is that my ship, and this happened when there were multiple enemies around, it suddenly couldn't fire accurately anymore. It was trying to select the other target for some reason or another. Let's see if I can replicate this. I'm going to give the enemy 2 battleships, and let's see if that is going to cause the same issue again. Because what I believe the battle system does, the new fire control, is try and switch fire to a different ship for some reason or another. I'm not sure why, but it's like it's constantly fighting you as the player. Oh, I got a different ship, by the way. That's nice. So this means that in custom battles you cannot fight with your own ships anymore. What the fuck? See, that's a bug. See, right now it seems to be doing fairly okay. The accuracy is still engaging one ship. At some point, your accuracy just... Oh, see that jittery? That lag? Whereas, if I just don't have it selected, there's nothing there. There's nothing wrong. There's no lag. Anyway, it seems that every now and then the ship just decides to select a different target. And when it does that, it starts to rebuild its firing solution. And then it switches back, and it rebuilds its firing solution again. And it's just weird how that happens. So, let's see if I can replicate this lag. Right now, it does not seem to be a problem. Let's go to 2 times speed. Yeah, there's some stuttering there. Look at that. Boop, boop, boop. If I start hovering over the ship, it just gets progressively worse. This is a problem. I hope that this is going to get resolved. Now, to their credit, in the patch logs they say, by reading the above, you may have noticed the sheer amount of new content. Therefore, it is expected the game to have a few unresolved minor issues or unrefined details. Arguably fewer than other games in full release status, but we must address them before fully releasing Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. This is why we cannot yet announce the release date, as we will need some days to polish the game. After the full release, Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts will continue to be supported for at least 6 months, as we will keep adding even more features, ships, and any necessary fixes. We hope you will enjoy the new update and continue to share with us your valuable feedback and criticism, which so far has helped us enormously in developing this game. Okay. It sounds like they're really optimistic that they have ironed out most of the bugs, but it sounds like the way that they phrased this got me a bit arguably fewer bugs than other games in full release status. So you're saying your early access has fewer bugs than games in full release status. Okay, fine. Yes, you can make the point both ways. There will be full release games that have a ton of bugs. There will be early access titles that have a ton of bugs. I think it's a bit much. Seeing the amount of bugs that we've had in the previous version, it's a bit much. Anyway. There will be bugs, yes. I believe I have already encountered some and shown off some of those in this video. I believe that they have added a lot of new features again. They've also removed a feature, which is manual rudder control. I'm not exactly too happy about that because I used it a lot to dodge torpedoes, but now you're just gonna have to tell your ship to start steering. Ooh, that hurt. And if that doesn't work, you can just push this, reverse, and the ship tends to slow down almost immediately. Watch this. The ship is doing 32 knots right now. What sort of propulsion do we have? Standard turbines. Okay. 300 meters out. And the ship starts slowing down very, very, very quickly. I think you can slow her down in about a kilometer. If that. Watch that. What? Yeah. Anyway, if you see bugs, I would say report them. If you have requests, I say post them on the forums or post them in Steam. And let's see how well the devs pick up on them. Oh, there we go, we stopped. So apparently you can stop 70,000 tons of steel in about 500 meters. Anyway, it's a game. As for my opinion, I've been disappointed by this game quite often. I've had great times with the game as well. It's tricky. It's tricky. I'm not sure if everything works. I'm not sure whether it's a good idea to start a new campaign. This is the live version, 1.1.0 live. By the time you're watching this, it might be 1.1.1 or 1.1.2 if they release hotfixes. I don't know. Anyway. I want to test more. I wanted to get this video out so you know that there is a new version for the game, and that this new version could be interesting to play. But, for example, the shared design feature I still believe needs work, because I didn't design the San Joaquin. And if I have my own design like this, I mean, I cannot even change this. I can say I want... Oh, I don't know. Make this thing really thick and just really flat. I'm going to add a ton of torpedo launchers onto it just so I can very easily recognize the ship, right? So we got a lot of torpedo launchers side mount. Oh, we need a funnel. Fine. Go on. Sit. Good man. It still designs a new battleship. So the custom battle features is kind of dead. That's not good. Because if you don't want to do a campaign, well, you're kind of fucked. You cannot do custom battles because the game will design a new battleship. It will design a new ship, whether you like it or not. So I hope that they can fix something like that very, very quickly. I was expecting a bit more of it. The shared design, and this isn't even near the type of ship that I designed. Anyway, I hope that they can design, or that they can fix stuff like that quickly. I hope that my ships will prove to be more accurate than they have been throughout both this video as well as the testing that I've been doing. Because it hasn't all been that accurate. It hasn't all been that accurate. Anyway, this is the overview. The video turned out a bit longer than I had hoped, but there's quite a bit of terrain to cover, and I hope I have done that well. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments on the patch. What do you think? Things that you like? Things that you dislike? Should I give the campaign another chance? Let me know. I'm really interested to see what your opinion is. Thank you for watching if you've watched all the way to here. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you soon for more videos. Be them Dreadnoughts or otherwise.